Don't be fooled. Sometimes the difference between a €100,000 car and a €30,000 car may just be the badge in front. But under the hood, you'd be surprised to find that some high-end cars are actually the same as lesser-priced brands, just with a lot more makeup. Here are 10 examples of cars that you didn't know were actually the same. Starting off our list are two cars you usually wouldn't expect to even see in the same sentence. Number 10, Dodge Hornet and Alfa Romeo Tanali. Dodge picked the Hornet as a bold American-built warrior ready to shake up the compact SUV game. But peel back the red, white, and blue paint, and what you'll find is a sharply dressed Alfa Romeo Tanali. Both the Dodge Hornet and Alfa Romeo Tanali ride on Stellantis' small, wide 4x4 architecture, which was originally used in models like the Jeep Compass. From the ground up, these two are mechanically identical siblings, not distant cousins. The engine? Same. A 1.3-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder plug-in hybrid paired with an electric motor, dishing out a combined 285 horsepower in both trims. The cabin is almost impossible to differentiate thanks to shared screens, shared controls, and shared layouts. Even the infotainment system and digital displays are essentially mirrored across the two brands. You could literally sit inside one blindfolded and still not know whether you're in a Hornet or a Tanali until you hear the startup chime. But where Alfa goes for subtle refinement with Italian curves and a slightly more upscale finish, Dodge goes all in on aggression. Think angry grills, chunkier accents, and a loud, brawny marketing campaign screaming performance. The suspension and steering may have been tweaked a bit to suit American driving taste, but the DNA remains unchanged. It's badge engineering 101, modernized for the post-merger Stellantis era. This kind of platform sharing makes sense for global automakers, saves millions in R&D, and slashes the complications involved in production, but it also reveals how shallow the uniqueness can be between different models. The Hornet isn't so much an all-new Dodge as it is an Alfa in a leather jacket, built for buyers who wouldn't consider something Italian. So while the Hornet's supposed to bring Dodge back into the compact performance scene, the truth is it's piggybacking on Italian engineering. In the end, the Dodge Hornet and Alfa Romeo Tanali are of the same nature, just different nurture. Hey, if you're enjoying this channel focused on the European car market, don't forget to subscribe for more updates, insights, and exciting content coming your way. Next on the list, we have this pair of literal twins. Number 9, Citroen Space Tourer and Pujo Traveler. The Citroen Space Tourer and Pujo Traveler are, for all practical purposes, the same vehicle wearing different outfits. And the reason why comes down to parent company politics. Both vans are products of the Stellantis empire, formerly PSA Group, which owns both Citroen and Pujo. So instead of designing two separate people movers from scratch, they did what any cost-conscious conglomerate would do. They built one solid van and slapped on two different badges. Underneath, these two are mechanically identical. Same chassis, same engines, same transmissions, and virtually the same ride quality. Whether you're driving a Space Tourer or a Traveler, you're sitting behind the same wheel, pressing the same buttons, and hearing the same diesel hum. The differences? Mostly superficial. Each brand tweaks the front grille, logos, and sometimes the headlights or interior trims slightly to make them look brand appropriate. But if you park them side by side, it would take a keen eye to spot the differences, and even then, good luck if the badges are removed. Inside, the story doesn't change much either. The infotainment systems, dashboard layout, seating configuration, and tech options are copied and pasted across both models. Both vans offer up to 9 seats, decent cargo flexibility, and a ride that's comfortable but clearly engineered for function over flair. This kind of badge engineering isn't new in the automotive world, and it saves money. But it also makes it harder for either model to stand out in the crowded MPV market. In the end, the Citroen Space Tourer and Pujo Traveler are the automotive equivalent of identical twins with different hairstyles. If you've met one, you've basically met the other. If you thought these two were similar, wait till you see just how identical the cars at number 8 are. Number 8, Mercedes-Benz CLS and Maybach CLS. At first glance, the Mercedes-Benz CLS looks plenty luxurious. With its swooping roofline, sleek profile, and plush interior, it already feels like a wildly sophisticated ride. But then comes Maybach strutting in to make you forget that it's the exact same ride. You've got the same basic car, but now wrapped in more chrome, layered with extra sound deadening, and prepped with ultra-luxe touches. But under the surface, the Maybach variant is essentially a dolled-up CLS. They ride on the same platform, share much of the same mechanical engineering, and in many cases, even have the same powertrain. The only difference is that Maybach brings in the branding muscle and leads hard into opulence. You get more leather, more customization, and a level of trim detailing that borders on the excessive. The rear seats might recline a bit more and the ride might feel a little smoother thanks to some suspension tweaks, but at its core, the Maybach is a Mercedes CLS in a fancier suit, tailored by someone who specializes in gold-threaded lapels and embroidery that no one asks for but everyone notices. The interior layouts are also eerily similar. Yes, Maybach throws in exotic wood veneers, pillow-style headrests, and maybe a champagne cooler if you're lucky, but the dashboard design, screens, and control interfaces are nearly identical to what you find in the high-end CLS trims. So, while you're paying a considerable premium for that Maybach badge, you're not exactly buying a completely different car. Sometimes the automobile game isn't about performance or engineering, it's about image, exclusivity, and this is definitely one of these items. Next up, we have number 7, Renault Kangu 2 and Mercedes-Benz Saitan. The Renault Kangu 2 and the Mercedes-Benz Saitan might wear different badges, but under the surface, they're practically twins. This badge engineering partnership was born out of a strategic alliance between Renault and Daimler in the early 2010s, aimed at saving costs and speeding up production development. So when Mercedes needed a small van to enter the compact commercial vehicle market, instead of building one from scratch, they turned to Renault's already successful Kangu 2, and voila, the Saitan was born. For the most part, these cars are identical. Same chassis, same engine options, same transmission setups. Even the body panels and proportions are a near match. From the driver's seat, you'll notice the same basic interior layout, switchgear and dashboard architecture. Mercedes tried to sprinkle in a few touches of premium by tweaking the steering wheel design, slapping on its iconic three-pointed star, and adjusting the suspension tuning slightly to deliver a more Mercedes-like feel. But if you've sat in a Kangu, you'll instantly recognize the shared DNA. The similarities don't stop at components. The driving experience is also very much the same. Both are practical, no-frills vans aimed at small business owners and urban delivery fleets. But Mercedes took a reputational risk with the Saitan. It didn't quite meet the brand's premium expectations, and early reviews criticized it for feeling too Renault and not enough Mercedes. In fact, the first-generation Saitan flocked with reviewers who were expecting a luxury van but got an everyday workhorse in a designer suit. So yes, the Renault Kangu 2 and the Mercedes-Benz Saitan are essentially the same vehicle, just marketed to different audiences. One's proudly rural, the other tries to dress it up, but underneath it all, they're the same roots, the same frame, and ultimately the same story. Number 6, Mercedes X-Class and Nissan Frontier. Mercedes and Nissan, two brands you'd never expect to see in the same sentence, actually teamed up for a truck. The Mercedes-Benz X-Class, that short-lived luxury pickup that tried and failed to shake up the utility vehicle market, was actually built on the bones of the Nissan Navara, also known as the Nissan Frontier in some markets. Underneath that three-pointed star and refined German styling, the X-Class was riding on the exact same ladder frame chassis as the Frontier. And that's not all. They even shared the same engines in some variants, particularly the 2.3-liter turbo diesels. Believe it or not, both vehicles used versions of the 7G-tronic 7-speed automatic transmission, a gearbox originally engineered for a smooth, seamless performance in Mercedes' top-tier luxury sedans like the S-Class. Imagine that, a gearbox designed to deliver elegant shifts and a €100,000 limousine being dropped into a rugged, no-nonsense workhorse built to haul lumber and climb muddy trails. It's the kind of behind-the-scenes parts sharing that makes car nerds raise an eyebrow. Mercedes did try to justify the X-Class's price tag with some upgraded interiors, better insulation, and that unmistakable badge, but in the end, the truck's DNA was all Nissan, and buyers noticed. Sales were underwhelming, and the X-Class was quietly pulled from the lineup just a few years after launch. Still, the story of their collaboration is wild enough to earn this unlikely duo a spot on this list. Now we're headed into the top 5, so expect to see some real head-scratchers that you never would have thought of. Number 5, Audi RS Q8 and Lamborghini Urus. So you've paid 6 figures for a Lambo SUV. That's awesome until someone pulls up next to you in an Audi RS Q8 and ruins the mystique. Because here's the not-so-secret truth is that the Lamborghini Urus and the Audi RS Q8 are essentially the same beast underneath. Both are built on the MLB Evo platform, the very same architecture that supports a whole fleet of Volkswagen Group heavy hitters, the Porsche Cayenne, Bentley Bentayga, and even the Volkswagen Tourig. This shared DNA means similar driving dynamics, structural layouts, and under-the-skin engineering. Under the hood, it gets even more obvious as they both house a 4.0-liter twin-turbo V8 built by Audi, just with different engine tunes and exhaust personalities. The Urus screams louder, but the RS Q8 is right behind it, breathing down its carbon fiber neck. Step inside, and the luxury game continues with some slight visual tweaks. The Urus aims for shock and awe, sharp angles, fighter jet toggle switches, and enough pizzazz to outfit a motorsports team. The RS-Q8, meanwhile, is slick, understated, and packed with Audi's top-tier tech with digital cockpits, touchscreen interfaces, and materials that feel every bit as premium. The more time you spend inside both, the more you realize you're experiencing variations of the same high-end formula. On the road, the Urus gets from 0 to 100 kilometers an hour a bit quicker, but the RS Q8 isn't exactly slow. It actually held the Nürburgring SUV lap record at one point, and yet the price gap between them can stretch to well over €80,000. Why? It's all in the branding. That Lamborghini badge brings exclusivity, curb appeal, and noise to the Urus, but mechanically, it's not as far from Audi as you might think. Number 4, Dodge Dart, Fiat Vagio, and Fiat 500L. Dodge Dart fans, you might want to look away for this one, because your beloved sedan shares its skeleton with some of Fiat's oddest creations, the Vagio and the slightly cartoonish 500L. All three cars ride on variations of the same Fiat compact-wide platform as part of Fiat's grand plan to save money and time by using one adaptable base for multiple markets. Sounds smart on paper, but in reality, it was more like forcing puzzle pieces together that weren't meant to fit. The Dodge Dart was supposed to be Chrysler's triumphant return to the compact sedan segment. Looked sharp, had decent tech, and came with a variety of trims. But under all that polish was an Italian chassis originally designed for much smaller cars. That made the Dart heavier and less efficient than rivals like the Civic or Corolla, and it never really delivered the driving dynamics or fuel economy it promised. Then there was the Fiat Vagio, which was basically a Dart retuned for the different market with slightly different styling but nearly identical DNA. It also failed to make waves, blending into a sea of more refined competitors. And finally, there's the Fiat 500L, which stretched the platform vertically into a quirky MPV-style city car. It's supposed to be roomy and practical, but its awkward proportions, confused identity, and clunky road manners turned off buyers in Europe. In the end, Fiat tried to make a one-size-fit-all and instead delivered three cars that felt like compromises. None of them stood out, none of them became segment leaders, and all three now live on as cautionary tales of what happens when platform sharing goes a little too far. Into the top three, and we have Infiniti QX30 and Mercedes-Benz GLA class. The Mercedes-Benz GLA class and the Infiniti QX30 might look like two different luxury crossovers on the outside, but underneath, they're essentially the same vehicle dressed in different outfits. This unusual pairing came out of a technical partnership between Daimler, who owns Mercedes-Benz, and Renault Nissan, where both companies agreed to share platforms, engines, and even factories. The result? Infiniti got access to Mercedes' compact MFA platform, and the QX30 was born. The Infiniti QX30 shares its chassis, engine, transmission, and most of its suspension setup with the first-generation GLA class. In fact, pop the hood of either one and you'll find the same 2.0-liter turbocharged four-cylinder engine, the same dual-clutch 7-speed automatic gearbox, and much of the same wiring electronics architecture. But they were even built in the same Nissan factory in Sunderland, UK, which just shows how intertwined they are. Inside, the similarities get even more obvious. The QX30 essentially reskinned Mercedes' interior with the same infotainment controller, same climate control layout, and even the gear selector as a Mercedes unit. Infiniti did try to differentiate the QX30 with slightly different materials, some soft-touch trims, and a unique steering wheel design, but if you've been in a GLA, it's very hard to miss the shared DNA. While Mercedes successfully marketed the GLA as a premium entry into its lineup, Infiniti struggled with brand identity and dealership reach. The QX30 ended up being a decent car with no real audience. Luxury buyers leaned towards Mercedes, and the Infiniti badge didn't carry enough weight within the segment. In the end, the GLA thrived and the QX30 disappeared, but under the sheet metal, they're more like siblings than rivals, born with similar engineering, just with different names on the cover. Number 2, Volkswagen Tourig and Porsche Cayenne. Here's one that really messes with people's minds. The Porsche Cayenne, the luxurious, powerful SUV, is basically the Volkswagen Tourig in a tailored suit. The Volkswagen Tourig and Porsche Cayenne may serve different types of customers, but underneath the different badges, they're essentially the same machine. Might sound hard to believe, but this is far from a conspiracy theory because it's strategic platform sharing at its finest, courtesy of the Volkswagen Group. Both SUVs are built on the Volkswagen Group PL71 and later MLB platforms, which means they share the same core structure, chassis, suspension architecture, and even mini drivetrain components. When the first-generation Cayenne launched in 2002 alongside the Tourig, Porsche was stepping into SUV territory for the first time. Instead of developing a brand new platform from scratch, Porsche partnered up with Volkswagen to save development costs. So while Porsche tuned the suspension, steering, and engine characteristics to make it feel more Porsche-like, the foundation was undeniably VW. Look a little closer and you'll spot the similarities. The shape of the door frames, the wheelbase, and the underlying layout are nearly identical. Inside, they diverge in styling and materials, with the Cayenne offering a more upscale, performance-focused experience, while the Tourig leans towards luxury and comfort at a lower price point. That doesn't change the fact that they roll off the same production lines and often share the same power plants like V6s, V8s, and even diesels in some markets. Even the Audi Q7, Bentley Bentayga, and Lamborghini Urus have their roots in the same MLB Evo platform in later generations, making this one of the most widely used architectures in modern luxury SUVs. So yes, while Porsche fans might hate to admit it, and Touareg owners might quietly enjoy the bargain performance, the two SUVs are siblings under the skin. The Cayenne just wears a tailored suit and charges you more for the name, while the Touareg quietly goes about its business using the exact same toolkit. Finally, at number 1, we have two cars that share body and soul but not badges. Number 1, Buick Cascata and Opel Cascata. Topping the list is none other than the Buick Cascata and the Opel Cascata, the most obvious example of badge engineering in recent memory. These two just aren't similar, they're identical, down to the last bolt. Built side by side in the same factory in Gilweiss, Poland, the only real difference between the two is which badge gets glued onto the front rear and rear deck lid before it's shipped out. Opel designed the Cascata as a stylish, mid-size convertible for the European market, a step above the usual small city drop tops. But when GM was still in control of Opel, it figured, hey, why not repackage this thing for the US under the Buick badge and call it a new car? That's exactly what happened, and the Buick Cascata was born. Despite being sold in a different market, Buick made zero effort to Americanize the car. The infotainment system, straight up Opel software. The styling, unchanged. The suspension tuning, European spec. Even the key fob had leftover traces of Opel's design language. It was like someone forgot to change anything with the logo before loading it onto the boat. This wasn't just lazy, it was transparent. Most badge-engineered cars at least get a new bumper, grille, or interior trim to pretend there's some effort. But the Buick Cascata, it was the Opel with a different name on the paperwork. And while it looked good and offered decent cruising comfort, it didn't really catch on in the US. Probably because American buyers were confused about what it was or who it was even for. In the end, it's a textbook case of badge engineering with no disguise whatsoever. Buick Cascata, Opel Cascata, same car, different passport. Which of these cars are you most surprised about? Let us know in the comments. Thanks for watching. To enjoy more exciting videos, click play on the video on your screen. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you get notified when a new video drops. Hey, if you're enjoying this channel focused on the European car market, don't forget to subscribe for more updates, insights, and exciting content coming your way.